taking three.
Going for the St. Louis now.
Oh no!
Son of a bitch.
You get your two?
Yeah. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thotgor here, of course. Today I've got two replays, and the first one we are looking at is on New Dawn. You'll notice I'm in my Marblehead, so this is obviously just a battle I was going into to get the victory on the Marblehead and get some credits, right? Because at this point in time, I think I'm about 50,000 experience away from the Zhao, and I think I'm about, maybe 8 or 9 million away from actually buying it. So we're going to have it shortly here, next few days, hopefully, get some replays out on the Zhao as well. I'm very excited to try out the Zhao. It's going to be my first tier 10, and obviously it's a tier 10 I wanted first. Can't wait for it. It's going to be great. At least I hope. Fingers crossed. Everything I read about it says good things, so that's what I'm hoping. Anyway, to the battle. So you'll notice on New Dawn, and I'm going to be going out towards B. Typical strategy for me on New Dawn when I'm in these pickup groups like this. Go to the middle, and then sort of scout it out from there and determine where I'm going to go from there. And as well, keep in mind where you're in a cruiser and I say I'm going to the middle, I'm not actually going to the middle. I'm going to the point in between B and C. That's the ultimate goal, while trying not to get too close to the east side, right? Because I don't want to be the first thing that's spotted, and I don't want to be the focus of the battleships, because even though we're at tier 5, the Marblehead has next to no armor at all, and a tier 5, tier 4, tier 6 battleship is going to just destroy me. So that's the plan, using the islands that I have as cover when necessary as well, because you'll notice on New Dawn the majority of your cover is actually around the cap zones themselves. There's not much cover anywhere else, and the cover that is out there, generally speaking, this cover is going to be used on a late game maybe, or if there's some battleships on your team that are just completely out there at a position, thinking that rock is going to save them. Generally that's how it's actually used. So I tend not to use the islands in the back, like the one, where is it here? We've got one way up there in the northeast, that large island, and then there's a small island just under it. A lot of carriers will hide back there, right? It makes sense for the carriers to do that. Battleships might go back there as well. If they do, though, again, we talked about it before, just let them sit there. They're making their own mistake. Let them do what they want to do up there, be alone by themselves while you destroy their team. Enemy destroyer pops up. Enemy destroyer's at a dead stop. So I immediately start putting shots into this guy, take out his engines. We got some friendly torpedoes on the way. Those all miss, yes. They all miss, but that's no big deal. We'll just continue putting shots into this guy. Not 100% sure what this player was doing. It's possible that he disconnected, because I don't see why that player would just be sitting there. I know I took out his engines, but even then we should have seen like fire coming out of the engine stacks, maybe moving around a little, something. But no, nothing at all. So whatever, managed to kill him. First kill, get the first blood as well. Fantastic. Taking a look around at where the enemy is dispersed. So you can see the enemy is mostly going down here to the south towards the sea cap, right? Yeah, that's typical for the enemies. When you spawn on that side, you can see the lemming train going down there. So okay, no big deal. Now is the time that I decide, excuse me, I'm going to push into B. I'm going to start capping B because we know where the majority of their forces are. At least the majority of their heavy forces, right? Their battleships, we know where those are. So we're going to move into B, we're going to cap it, or at least help cap it. Yeah, it doesn't really apply in this situation. This is my destroyers, we're all over this, right? This is a destroyer job, by the way. It's just in these pickup groups, destroyers don't actually always do what they're supposed to, or at least what you think they would they're supposed to do. But anyway, we managed to cap B. Enemies are putting some pressure on A. Not too concerned about the A cap point just yet, as my ships, my ally ships, are making moves into C. So I really want to figure out what's going to happen down there at C before I make a bold move towards A, right? Because if you look at the minimap, you'll notice the allies I have with me, if we go to A, it's going to be myself, Maybe another ship. Well, they just sunk the ally ship I had over there, so that kind of sucks. But it's basically going to be myself, maybe a destroyer. So not willing to push into A at this time. Need to be patient. Need to wait and see what's going to happen at B. Now, while all of this is happening at B, doesn't mean, or sorry, while all of this is happening at C, right? We want to wait and see what happens at C. Doesn't mean you can't put shots into enemy ships in the background, right? With the advanced firing training on this Marblehead and the extended range that it provides, it just made this ship so much more awesome, in my opinion, anyway. Enemy cruiser off in the distance, doesn't stand a chance. Torpedoes come in and take him out. And yeah, I mean, we've got more enemy battleships back there. You can see, yeah, I am kind of focused, or at least shooting at targets at A right now, right? There's only 2 enemy ships up here right now. So it might be a good time to put some pressure on A if need be, because we haven't actually capped C yet. Don't know what the holdup is down there at C. I imagine it's just a matter of people duking it out, right? Trying to keep their distance, limit the amount of citadels they get, and that's just taking a little longer. Generally, that's what's going on. Put some shots into the enemy battleship off in the distance. Managed to set him on fire. That is great. Hopefully he doesn't, or rather isn't able to put that fire out too soon, and we can let that burn and get this guy gone. You'll see that, yeah, the fire did burn and an ally finished him off, so that is fantastic. That enemy battleship is gone. Only 1 enemy ship in the north at A now, so interesting. We are now also moving into C, or at least my team was just moving into C and started capping it, so that is good. Looking at the minimap and the positions of the allied ships I have down there at C, you'll notice that they more or less took control of the area. Now it's just a matter of getting someone in there to cap it. The enemy ships down there are, you know, being pounded away, sunk, if not retreating. Enemy battleship off in the distance here, we can see him there as well. He more or less stopped, or is in a reverse, noticing that you know, C is more or less gone for these guys. There's not a big chance of them taking it, so now he's trying to take pot shots off at the enemy ships in B. I don't know if this was necessarily the biggest, maybe not, yeah, not the biggest or best strategy by this guy, I guess is where I'm going with it. Just simply because, I mean, we've got aircraft in the air, right? It's a good target for my aircraft carrier just to come in and take this guy out. Luckily for this guy, my aircraft carrier is actually concerned with the enemy aircraft carrier, so they don't take any chances, or don't take any shots off at him. But again, you know, I don't play battleships very often, and I'm not too great at them, or with them, I should say. But I just don't understand this whole stopping and reversing thing. I don't get it, especially when there's enemies around that can easily take you out. Just to stop and to start taking shots off like that just seems so counterintuitive to me. Anyway, enemy cruiser off in the distance, putting shots into this guy. We're going to try and get them over the island, maybe give this guy a little bit of surprise. He's on very little health. So maybe if I can just hit him with a few shots, set him on fire, might be able to take this guy out, get the kill for myself. That would be great. So there we go, landed a shot, managed to set him on fire. He is, I think no, he put the fire out, yeah. He's sitting there on that little bit of health. Oh well, whatever. An ally will finish him off, I'm sure. He's come back around the island, so put some shots. Maybe I'll get him. We've got another enemy ship here as well. We can see him just hiding behind the island there. Managed to finish off the cruiser. There's the enemy battleship coming out from behind the island. So immediately switch over to this guy and start putting shots into him, right? He's on about 50% health. No, actually he's a little lower than that. So it shouldn't be too hard to actually get this guy gone. It is really easy, I find, in Marblehead to take out enemy Wyomies, enemy New Yorks specifically. So easy because, you know, you can burn them down really, really nice. They have, well, a slow-ish rate of fire, and generally the dispersion on the shells is pretty bad, so usually you're able to dodge the incoming shells. Remember though, you want to keep your distance. The closer you get, the better the enemy's chances are of actually killing you. The further away you are, the better your chances are of survival. So I'm trying to keep the enemy battleship here at a reasonable distance. I'm not willing to get too close. You'll notice as well the shots that he has incoming for me. are more or less missing me every time. And I'm basically just driving straight away from him using my aft turrets just to pound away at this guy while I'm getting out of here. Maneuvering now as well because the enemy's on fire, right? He's not going to survive. There he goes. Ally gets a kill. Fantastic. Another enemy ship is down. There are only 2 enemy ships remaining, yes. And you'll notice that we never actually did capture C. No. The ally ships down there, it would have been beneficial to actually cap C. Fairly sure, but not really required, to be 100% fair. Not really required. We destroyed these people. The lemming train that the enemies had going down towards the sea has failed, right? The only thing they managed to do was actually take A. They still have A, but it doesn't matter. It's not the linchpin in this whole battle here, because we just destroyed these people. And it's another good example. I'm pretty sure I put up a video, it might have been like my 2nd or 3rd video on the channel, called Lemming Trains, and we discussed Lemming Trains in the video. They have their merit, they have their strengths, they have the time and the place, but maybe 75% of the time they don't actually work very well, because what happens is all of your team, or the majority of your team, is committed to one objective, and inflexible in that objective, right? When things start to go wrong, you need to then pick up the pieces, readjust, and push somewhere else. If you just keep pushing the attack on the in this case the C point, you're basically just banging your head up against the wall, accomplishing nothing other than getting your ships killed. That's all that's going to happen, and that's usually how it goes down. Now, there are the rare instances where your lemming trains will work very, very well because the enemy is just not prepared for it, and you can just push right through their lines, right? Those instances are rare, and generally speaking, when they do happen, you didn't actually start out as a lemming train. There's a bit of planning involved in that one. So, anyway, the 2 enemy ships remaining, you can see they're up here in the northeast quadrant. They've retreated all the way up here, trying to meek out their little existence before we actually manage to kill them. I'm putting shots into the battleship over the island, which is nice. You get this with your high arc on the American ships. You can do it with your other ships as well. It's just not going to be as pronounced, maybe. Enemy battleship is dead. He's gone. We have 1 enemy cruiser remaining. Just need to take this guy out, and then we have victory. Sweet, sweet victory. More importantly for myself, though, sweet, sweet credits. Need those credits. Want the Zao. Switching over to armor piercing, obviously, considering that it is, in fact, an Omaha that I'm shooting at. So he's got a nice big broadside presented to me, so I'm going to try and get some shells into this guy, see if I can't get some citadel hits. Unfortunately, my shots are falling just short. I managed to hit him with a few, but I'm not hitting him with the bulk of the shots to actually do nice citadel damage. That salvo there wasn't too bad at all. Did about, I think, over 2,000 damage to him anyway, so he's almost gone. We've got some torpedoes in the water from my friendly aircraft carrier. Those are all going to miss, though, but we've got another round on the way in. These might hit. No, enemy Omaha is a little smarter than that. Now the enemy Omaha, though, is riding the line. Before we can get any more shots into him, match ends. Fantastic. So this was a great battle. Good teamwork, right? Really nice to see this level of teamwork in these pickup games, and you can tell just by watching the videos on my channel that this sort of teamwork in these pickup games, it does happen. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. Surprisingly enough, just before we get into the next clip here, interesting to note that I find sometimes the level of teamwork in these pickup battles is actually better than the level of teamwork you might see, say, in a skirmish, like a clan skirmish, something like that. Anyway, into the next clip. We are in the Admiral Hipper this time. I am on the Atlantic. Now the plan here is to go up to this northern point. We're going to try and cap the C point here, see if we can't take this. You can see that some of my allies are also going down there to the south. Now, I've played Atlantic a few times, obviously, right? I like the map. I think this is a great map. I think the map, though, is a little tricky as well, right? Because I find that when I go down to the south, and I did this a bunch, when I go down to the south and try and take that point, and when I'm usually in a cruiser, obviously, it usually ends really bad because all of the teams seem to go down there to the south. It seems to be, a big lemming train down to the south. That's where the battleships want to go because it's fairly open. They can get some. They can start engaging targets at a decent range, so they like that. And then because the battleships are all going there, a destroyer will feel like they have to go, cruisers will feel like they have to go. So then you might get some, random ships that might try and take another point, but the majority of your enemy ships are going to be down there at A. I don't like this, because I always go down there and I always get wrecked. Just completely wrecked, because there's not a whole lot of cover down there at A, and the cover that is down there at A is really close to where the enemies are going to start popping up. So you start engaging enemy targets at like less than 10 kilometers away, and you're in a cruiser, and there's battleships and crap like that. So it generally goes wrong for me anyway. I just haven't been able to maybe master it just yet. I don't know. That being said, I like coming up here to the north. I feel that this cap point is the better cap point to actually take because it offers more cover. Yes. Yeah, the C cap point up here. There's lots of little islands around. Generally speaking, the ships that you're going to encounter up here would be maybe a few cruisers, destroyers. That would be about it. Now, in this battle specifically, there is only one destroyer, so we don't necessarily have to worry about that. But you can see cruisers popping up, right, putting some pressure on the center. So we just took out the enemy York. That's not too bad at all. Now I got some nice torpedo hits on that guy. You can see that, looking at the minimap, a lot of the enemy ships, like I said, are down there in the south, and that's really where it's going to start, getting real, I guess, and where ships are going to start dying. Luckily for my team, the majority of my team did actually come up here to C, and we are going to try to control B and C. It's unfortunate for those allies who decided to go A. They just didn't have the situational awareness, to be frank, to look at the minimap and see, well, most of my team is not here. Maybe I should turn around and go somewhere else, rather than, nope, we're on Atlantic and I'm in a battleship. We got to go A. This is where we got to go. This is what it has to be, right? Try to, check your ego at the door, look at the minimap, keep your situational awareness, and move around. We've talked about it before, sorry for the pun, but the battle is fluid. It is. You need to change with it. You can't just go with one strategy when you're in these battles. And that's the biggest thing. And just to bring it back to, like skirmishes, clan skirmishes and stuff like that. That's the biggest thing I think that, at least my clan, and I know that myself have to get my head around, is when you go into these things and you're doing training for these things, right? It's always, well, this is our plan of attack. This is what we're going to do, and then once things develop, we'll change it from there, right? But we never actually go over the changes from there. It's hard to actually do that. It's hard to anticipate what the enemy is doing. And in reality, if you want to be able to anticipate what the enemy is doing, then you're going to have to go to training rooms and you're going to have to play out each individual scenario and have a strategy for each individual scenario as it plays out, right? And that is really hard. But then you take it back to these pickup groups games, right? And you can see there is communication happening in chat here, right? Normal banter and stuff, but you can see that the teamwork that is being displayed here is actually quite astonishing for a pickup group. The majority of us went to C. We took C. We had a destroyer take B. We controlled 2 points, while some of my allies were down there contesting A. A is being capped, but it doesn't matter. We still have these 2 points. We still have C and B. Majority of my ships are up here at C and B, so when the enemy, you'll see the enemy down there, they are trying to move to C now, right? They're pretty happy with the fact that they're taking A, and they're trying to move to B. Sorry, they're trying to move to B now, yeah. So you can see, and then my team's in a good position to start defending the B point. The battleships that we may have with us, they're behind some islands using it as cover. I'm fairly close to the islands myself. I can get back there and use it as cover. I'm in a great ship, the Admiral Hipper, who has great range, great ability to set fires, so I'm able to, put shots into these guys, take them out, bring them down, and let my allies hopefully finish them off. Like, for example, my destroyers, because they have torpedoes, and we have some big battleships back here, right? Like the Izumo that I'm shooting at now. We're all sort of focused on the Izumo because he is the biggest threat right now. I am completely and utterly terrified of the guns. In this Admiral Hipper, he would just have to look at me and I would be dead. So keeping this in mind. And another tip here for you, if you don't already do it, take a look to see what direction the enemy turrets are pointed at, right? This is how you're going to know whether or not you can afford to stay and continue to put shots into the enemy, or if you need to start turning and maneuvering. Now obviously I'm not doing this perfectly, because if I was doing it perfectly I would also be zooming out in between shots, taking a look at the turrets on the other enemy ships to make sure that they aren't attacking me, right? I just get lucky and they're not actually attacking me. Enemy planes overhead, so we target them, let the AA do the work here. My hip are set up for anti-destroyer warfare, so I don't have any, fancy extra AA modules and shit like that. I don't see the point of having that on an Admiral Hipper, to be completely and utterly frank. It's all about just hunting down destroyers with this thing, at least for me anyway. Enemies are trying to line up an attack on me here. We managed to take out the remaining enemy torpedo bombers so they don't get any torpedoes off. That is fantastic. You can see I have an Atlanta helping to support me, so this is what it's attributing to all these planes getting shot down. While this is taking place, I'm going to continue to put shots off into an Thotgor in the distance, right? I want to keep putting pressure on that guy. You can see that we are continuing to fire at enemy planes. They're almost all gone, and the enemy aircraft carrier, his attack basically just completely and utterly failed. It was fantastic, fantastic. The enemy is putting pressure on B. They are actually capping B. Not to worry though, we've got lots of ships putting pressure on B to try and defend this, so that's not too bad. In terms of the A cap point, yeah, whatever, they can have A. It's unfortunate for my allies down there who are still down there, but they're more or less going to be written off unless they can get themselves up here to help out B, because our focus is B and C. A is just a write-off for us, right? And bringing it back to the map as well, I like doing this strategy. I like taking B and C, the north point and the middle point, because because of the whole fact that everyone usually goes A. Put yourself and your team in a nice position to take these points, gain a nice early advantage in points early on in the game. Then when the enemy is scrambling to try and do something about it, you might get lucky and they might start coming into the B zone a few ships at a time, and then your allies can start focusing these people down, getting them gone, and the enemy's just sitting there going, well, what the hell, my team sucks, right? It's not that, well, the team did suck, but it's also, just the strategy right at the beginning. You're just limiting yourself so much by saying, we're all going to go A, we're all going to go B. If that's what everyone expects, you should probably do the unexpected. I mean, there are countless examples in World War II, and other wars around the world, obviously, where the soldiers did, or the enemy side or allied side did exactly what the enemy or allies didn't think they would do. They did what they thought was impossible, or just wasn't conceivable. We'll just use one example: Battle of the Bulge, right? They didn't. The Allies didn't expect the Germans to push through the Ardennes forest again. Yes, for the second time, didn't expect to push through the Ardennes and left it, relatively weak, right? So they attacked where the enemy assumed they wouldn't or could not attack, and that is so important. Surprise. Now, obviously, this is a game. We're all here to have fun. But that being said, doesn't mean you can't still surprise the enemy team, right? I think it would have been a bigger surprise for the enemy if we didn't actually have any allied ships down there at A. They would have all gotten there and be like, whoa, what do we do now? To be fair though, the ships we did have down there at A, even though they're all dead, they really actually, did a good job down there, because they stalled the enemy before they came up here to B. We have control of the points right now as C and B. No concern in the world right now that the actual score as well, we're leading them really good. So now it's just a matter of making sure we defend what we have, right? You can see on the minimap there is an enemy cruiser putting some pressure on B, but we have lots of ships over there to deal with this enemy cruiser should he decide to continue the push. At least I think it's an enemy cruiser, enemy ship anyway. And in the meantime, I'm just going to continue to put shots into North Carolina. North Carolina is burning. So obviously we know that his repair is on cooldown, so that is great because you can see his health is slowly going away. Unfortunately, my aim is pretty atrocious. I'm not leading him enough. And it's anyway. But the battle is coming closer to an end, right? Now the enemy ship, so it was in fact a battleship, so it's a Tirpitz, putting pressure on B. But again, doesn't matter. Look at my destroyers in there, firing off the torpedoes at the Tirpitz. Tirpitz takes a torpedo to the bow. He's down to half health. I immediately start engaging, right? We're going to try and set this guy on fire. Enemy aircraft are coming back in, a couple dive bomber squadrons and some fighters. Again, not concerned. Target them with my AA. Dive bombers launch one attack on me, misses. My AA managed to rattle them. Again, though, I'm in close proximity to another Allied cruiser in Atlanta, so the Atlanta has much better AA ability than an Admiral Hipper. So the Atlanta really, is doing a lot of this work for me, and kudos to that guy. Continue to put shots into the Tirpitz. You can see the Tirpitz is still in B, capping B. He's blocking us from gaining any points on B, but it doesn't matter. He's going down. He can't stay here for very long. Put a nice salvo into him, set him on fire. We know his repair is on cooldown because he had to repair the flooding damage. Enemy torpedo bombers come in, managed to launch one torpedo off at me, but I'm more than able to avoid this torpedo. Fantastic. Continue to put shots on the Tirpitz, set more fires to him. Now he's on fire, in two different places. His health is just melting away. Looking good for our team here. You notice the enemy team though still does have a good amount of ships left, right? It's just they're not working together. They're not coordinated. They're all sort of everywhere at once and trying to do things on their own. Like the Tirpitz there, right? He tried to take this point on his own without any support, and that's you can see where it got him. So the Tirpitz is gone. We can switch over to another enemy. It's an enemy cruiser. We're going to start putting shots into this guy. B is now back in our hands, and we continue to cap, and get points from B. Just a few more minutes left, and this battle is going to be over, and we'll be able to all give ourselves high fives here. So putting some shots into the enemy cruiser. I am putting high explosive into him. Probably should have switched over to armor piercing considering it's a cruiser, but whatever. I really wanted to continue focusing on the North Carolina because he's the enemy ship here that's on the lowest health. If we can get this guy gone, it'll go a long way to giving us more points and finishing the battle here. Because we're at, what, 925 points thereabout? So really just, 75 points more and we win. So if we can kill a battleship, I think that's 60 points. Then we only need, 15 more points and we've got it. Well, less than that because while I'm explaining all this, our points are going up, right? Torpedoes are on the way for the enemy, North Carolina. North Carolina, though, is going to miss all these torpedoes. Yeah, he's going to be able to avoid all those torps. Incoming shots from the enemy cruiser, not a big deal. We can see the enemy aircraft carrier is coming back. He's continuing to focus on me. Now, I don't know what it was about me, why he wanted to kill me. Maybe, just the fact that I'm in Admiral Hipper, he knows my anti-aircraft isn't that great, and figures that if he's going to be able to kill anyone, it's probably going to be me. My team is down to 3 Allied ships remaining, though, right? We've got myself, and we've got 2 destroyers. So it's getting a little hairy. We don't want to ruin this. We don't want to, just throw away the victory. So we have to play it a little safe, a little careful, and myself especially, because we're on the biggest ship remaining. I'm going to be the one that everyone's focused on. There we go. There's a nice big shot from the North Carolina. He's almost dead, though. Just need to put a few last rounds into him, and he'll be gone. There we go. Dead, and we win. Fantastic, because any longer, and I think we might have actually lost that, but oh well. Managed to pull off the victory. Fantastic. Excellent game by the team. Lots of credits and experience earned. Some kills. Some fires. I'm second overall in the team, so that's not too bad at all. Did my fair share, that is for sure. And got some nice damage done. Well, mediocre damage done. You'll see over 1 million credits earned. This is because this was a battle that I finished my cruiser kills, I think, so that attributes to that amount of credits. Anyway, hopefully you guys did enjoy today's video. We're able to take something away with regards to strategy. Once again, leave any comments you have for me in the video comment section below. Love reading those, responding back to them. Hit the old like button if you did like today's video. Hit subscribe if you are not a subscriber, and as always folks, I do hope you enjoy the rest of your day.